John Steenhuisen back with us today.
Great,
Welcome,
thank you.
John.
It's great
really
to be
good
back.
to have you. What do you prefer? Do you prefer working early in the morning or late at night?
I do both. I don't have an option.
You've led this party through some of its most trying times, from being an opposition party to being a party in government. That could not have been easy.
If you are leading, you are having to promote and praise those who are performing, but you also then need to be able to have the guts and courage when they don't perform. You need to remove them.
Absolutely.
And that's also the tough part of leadership.
I'm definitely looking forward to your autobiography. I mean, not anytime soon.
Listen, some people are going to have to leave the country without.
We got to speak about George, right? We must
Which George?
Welcome back to our podcast. It's really great to have you. I think it's important to state at this point that due to popular demand, because the last time we spoke to our special guest today, it was the highest viewed podcast all over. So it's really great to have John Steenhuisen back with us today.
Great,
Welcome,
thank you.
John. It's really good to have you.
Good. I hope your viewership's going to increase even more now.
No, look, you must remember, John, wherever the two of us are together, you know, the popularity skyrockets.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
It's that dynamic.
Exactly. So it's a perfect thing. But it's really good to have you back with us, John. Now, what's the start of the new year been like for you?
Yeah, it's been busy. I mean, as you know, this year's an election year.
Yeah.
So when you have an election year, it always gets more to a more fiery and quicker start. You know, other years, generally, people start to ease into January. Obviously, coming back full on election mode now and gearing the party up for these important local government elections.
So what do you prefer? Do you prefer working early in the morning or late at night?
I do both. I don't have an option. I don't have an option.
And did you have some holiday sometime?
I did. I had a wonderful family holiday with my 3 daughters and my wife. We travelled. We had a wonderful. It's the first family holiday I've taken in 8 years.
In 8 years,
yeah, and it was real fun. We had a good time, and you know, when you spend time with family and you're together every day, I think it puts a lot of things in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's why that time of year is so special. It's the one time of the year where we can calm down a bit and that. And it was really a wonderful experience.
I find that the first few days of holiday, it almost seems uncomfortable to be at home. Yeah. Because you know, when you wake up, you go to work, you drop this, you do that, and you see them late at night. And so now you wake up and they're there, and no one's going anywhere. It's similar situation with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, what happens to me is I usually get sick in the first week. Your body, like you're so busy and you're running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're on the road all the time. The moment you sit down and relax, my body says, okay, now we can get sick.
Now, what do you do with your cell phone while you're on holiday, John?
I have it with me at all times. Obviously, this this holiday, we have foot and mouth disease still raging in December. And as minister, you can't just switch off.
Correct,
I had to have a daily conversation with the team back in South Africa about what we're doing, where we're moving in terms of vaccine procurement, the announcement and fleshing out of the plan that I'd announced before the December break around the vaccination and getting all of that sorted. So I spent a lot of time on the phone and obviously on the computer, just managing that. So unfortunately, I would love to have not taken my phone.
But it's going with
and in your best intentions are not to take your phone, but the reality is, in the modern world, you have to stay plugged in.
So does your family, because, and I say that because I think we can all speak about this, does your family understand why it is that we should constantly have our phones in our hand?
So my daughters call it fubbing. So if I'm sitting and I'm dealing with stuff on my phone, they say it's phone snubbing. So they call it fubbing. So their line is, Dad, are you fubbing us?
And when you have your phone now, do you prefer text messages, or do you prefer calls, or do you prefer voice notes?
Please do not send me voice notes.
Oh, my goodness.
I have an aversion for voice notes. And I don't know why people think voice notes are so efficient and effective, because most times I'm sitting in a meeting. And if I got a WhatsApp, I can deal with it. If I got a voice note, I can't say, sorry, guys, I just need to listen to the voice note. I don't get this voice note.
And then I don't understand it. It's not even a 20-second voice note. It's a 3-minute and 46-second voice note. Now,
and thank goodness for the person who invented that fast forward button. the person ends up sounding like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Okay, I got your block today. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, is it? I mean, in all of that, is it coffee or rooibos tea in the morning? What's your drink of choice?
I prefer tea. I prefer English breakfast or Earl Grey tea. And I've tried to actively limit my coffee intake over the course of the last 2 years, drinking way too much coffee. But generally, I'm a tea person.
So why limit it?
Well, I think that too much coffee gives you too much
energy,
and I find by 2 o'clock you've got the shakes.
So beach or bushveld?
Bushveld, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you spent some time out in the bushveld? When last?
I spent some time in the bushveld. In
every day, it's part of your job.
Well, I'm obviously in the bushveld.
Yeah.
But I definitely like being out and about in some of the more remote areas of the country where you don't come across people or see anything. Yeah.
And I mean, you are from Durban. You guys are very laid back. So you'll probably wear flops. Do you prefer flops or fellies now?
Fellies, definitely.
Yeah, fellies.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they're very comfortable as well. Because I mean, they also fit in the.
My daughters tell me I've got ugly toes, so I avoid wearing slops.
I've been meaning to buy a pair of fellies actually, and you just never get to actually doing it. Is it a good purchase? Besides supporting local, etc.
They're great, and I've got a pair of Felskin which are locally manufactured, and they help with job creation here.
Yeah.
But I was gifted a very nice pair of fellies by Overberg Agri when I went to speak to their Agri Day. They've got their own brand called Silo, and they are so comfortable. I wore them all over London,
all
over the UK, and I wear them out in the bush now, and they really are very, very comfortable.
And we'll see that in the register this year.
Definitely. Last year it was stuffed animals, and that poor chap who wears all those beanies, I forgot what his name is.
Yeah, that guy.
He made a big scene about it. I don't know if he thought they were like life-size animals.
Yeah.
They were literally stuffed toys. So I put the 4 stuffed animals from Wildlife Ranching South Africa.
Yeah, it's like,
now I have these like stuffed leopards, and they're literally a little tray of these little toys.
Yeah.
What's the latest book you're reading? Because I know you're an avid reader.
I'm currently reading 2 books.
Yeah.
I'm reading one on Lord Halifax called The Holy Fox. And Halifax was a big player in British politics in the lead up to the Second World War and was part of the War Cabinet. So it's a very good book by Andrew Roberts. And then I'm reading another great book called Let Them, The Let Them Theory. And it's hopefully going to bring me some peace.
What's that about?
The theory is that you can't change other people's behavior and attitude towards you. You must just let them. Let them do it.
And
you can only change what you can change and do what you can do.
Yeah.
And that's the area you have to manage.
Yeah.
So if someone's screaming and shouting at you or pointing fingers and blaming you, just let them do it. It's fine.
And
you just get on with doing what you can do.
Yeah. And what's the best book you've ever read?
Let's
say 5 years.
Let them.
Sure, I read so many books. It's one of the greatest gifts is to be able to read, and I read every single night before I go to bed. It's hard to say. I mean, I love political biographies, mainly because it's nice to see people who've been in a similar situation to you and how they handled crises and to draw lessons from that.
Yeah.
Probably Andrew Roberts' book on Churchill. Churchill was an incredible person under deep odds, and with everything stacked against him, through rugged determination, years of criticism and constant attacks by the critics, just soldiered on and got what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I draw great inspiration from that, particularly in the current crises we're facing in the agri space.
Yeah.
It's easy to be distracted by those who throw stones and those who are the constant critics. What Churchill did is he developed a strategy. He put the resources into that strategy, and he executed that strategy. And despite all the naysayers who said that it could never be done,
he did
eventually the war was won, and he did it.
I mean, a book for Churchill would have been Let Them, because he effectively just did that. He allowed people to say what they wanted to,
and then kept
and he had a great saying. I carry it with me everywhere, and it's a good saying for politics as well. And that's if you stop to throw stones at every dog that barks along the way, you'll never get to your destination.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's that philosophy of, there's no shortage of critics in the world.
Yeah.
Opinions are like backsides. Everybody has one. And,
Some have 3.
You've just got to understand where you're going, have clarity of purpose and thought, and then marshal the resources to get there and get it done.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to your autobiography. I mean, not anytime soon.
Listen, some people are going to have to leave the country with my
We'll start a whole new commission just for John's book alone.
Yeah, if you think Mkwanazi has got the files, I've got the files.
Do you have a camouflage? You've got camouflage. So you've got the farming camouflage. So we could set it up probably here in the studio right here for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That should be quite a story. I mean, but you obviously love politics.
I love it.
You were one of the youngest councillors in the country, as obviously in Durban, definitely probably, but you obviously love this.
I absolutely love it.
It's your passion.
I love politics. And I love the power of politics to do things.
Absolutely.
And that's what I find so refreshing now about being in government. Opposition politics is there and it has a place and it's important. And it's important to have an opposition. But I can tell you, when you get into a position of power and you're able to change policies, you're able to deliver things, the sense of satisfaction that you get is incredible. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
And as I said, there's no shortage of critics. But being able to actually get things done. And I just look at the incredible work the DA is doing now in government, whether it's in the city of Cape Town, whether it's in the province of the Western Cape, whether it's Midvaal, whether it's Umgeni in KwaZulu-Natal.
Whether it's your portfolios that you have in the GNU.
What we're doing in the GNU. I mean, game-changing stuff. Being able to get an ID document without having to go to Home Affairs office.
Absolutely amazing.
Revolutionary. And it took just a year and a half of DA in government to get that done.
I mean, you look at our economic situation we had before the GNU. And I think just last week there was a report that came out that inflation is completely down. Now, food inflation stays up there. But then you look at the work you've done in agriculture around bread and basic food services as well. And you look at, and that's the DA's involvement in making life easier for the average South African out there.
And sometimes it's just small policy things. So one of the first things I did when I came in as Minister of Agriculture was to remove the assignee that was supposed to be allocated for bread and bread products in the country. And that person, that assignee, would have added a cost onto the price of bread and to wheat and the like. And so just by making a small decision like that, you're able to keep the price lower and make sure that supermarkets don't have these people on their back all the time, and that the manufacturers don't have these people on their back all the time. And just a small thing like that makes a life-changing difference. Imagine the life-changing difference of somebody who needs to apply for an ID book or a passport or the like, not having to take a day off work to go to the Home Affairs and stand in a queue. And now they can go into a bank, and pretty soon, under Minister Schreiber, you'll be able to go to a kiosk and do it automatically. Eventually, you'll be able to do it on an app. I mean, this is the stuff that we're changing. And it's moving the needle. Economic growth is up, not nearly enough. We've got a lot more to go, and unemployment is down. We've got the lowest inflation in many years.
Correct.
The rand is on its strongest run ever. So the GNU is starting to move the needle. And the more we are able to be given the space to deliver in government in those portfolios, the more that we start to focus on job creation, the faster the economy is going to recover, the sooner we're going to be able to move forward. Off the grey list, being able to ensure that we are able to now access cheaper finance around the world, inflation targeting. All of these things are as a result of the DA's influence in government. And the sentiment is shifting. And once the sentiment shifts, it becomes a flywheel for greater growth. So I see huge progress ahead for the GNU.
I think that there's obviously a lot of noisemakers wherever we are. And noisemakers who try and attach the DA to becoming like the ANC because we serve in government with them. We know that. We know the noisemakers. But I think, John, take the moment to clarify exactly what our role is within the GNU. And that, I think, first and foremost, I don't want to answer the question for you. First and foremost, we're here to rescue South Africa, and we'll almost do anything to rescue this country. It's important to clarify, what is that relationship? It's not a coalition. It's not a partnership, but it's not, I'm becoming like you. It's not, I'm adopting your vision. What is our role in that?
Yeah, I mean, this I find very puzzling. You know, you've got these talking heads that say, oh, ANC light, etc. etc.
Yeah.
ANC Light, in the same year that we launched the largest broadside against BEE, the same year that we beat the ANC on the VAT increase, the same year that we were able to prevail on Bella and a whole lot of other things. These things are not ANC. Those are
DA.
advancements as a result of the DA.
Yeah.
The progress being made in our portfolios is not because we're following ANC policy, it's because we're doing things differently. And I'm sure we're going to talk a bit later about vaccines for the first time ever.
Yeah.
We are getting vaccines. You're going to get vaccines from other countries and we're going to empower local agents to be able to manage those vaccines.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because we've had a very busy year. I mean, you've touched on that. I mean, but what has been the significance, the milestones, some of the things that we did very well as the DA?
Well, as I said, I mean, I think beating VAT was a huge thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, to imagine now where South Africa would be if there was a 2% VAT increase. It was us holding the line there. I look at what we've done, the advancements we've made in the local governments where we are, where we keep making progress. Midvaal again got a consecutive clean audit. City of Cape Town, consecutive clean audit. I look at the incredible work the Western Cape government is doing in terms of infrastructure rollout. Everywhere you go, roads are being built, opportunities are being created, and there's the sign for you. We're doing it for you. I look at the work that Chris Pappas has done in Umgeni municipality, him and his team there. The only municipality in the KZN to get a clean bill of health in the space of a short period. It just shows where the DA is, life gets better. And those milestones and those road signs need to be lit up in neon lights for voters going into this next election.
But I think, John, it's important to say this. Organizations are successful because of various things, but most importantly, leadership. And I mean, you've led this party through some of its most trying times. You were one of the most successful chief whips that any opposition in this country, whether it was in the old regime or in the new regime, has ever seen. And I think you set the bar for what chief whips how they should be operating. And then you got this opportunity to lead this party, and you led this party from being an opposition party to being a party in government. That could not have been easy. That must have stretched you. But what has it been like personally for yourself to sit back and realize that you've done this? You've worked with a team of people and we've achieved this.
Well, you don't get much time to sit back and do it because there's always a critic on the sideline.
Let them.
That's my motto for you.
Let them.
Look, let me just say this. I inherited a party that was in deep trouble.
Absolutely.
A leader that had walked off the job, trampled the project on the way out. Coming up Adderley Street, I'll never forget those headlines, death of the DA. And many people wrote us off. And there were a group of us who said, we've given our lives to this cause and to the DA, and we're not prepared to let it die. And not like this. South Africa needs the DA. And together with that determined team, we've set out and turned the party back to its original values and principles, to be able to make sure our structures are fit for purpose, to be able to fulfill the economic realities and our political goals. And then straight after that, we ended up in COVID. I mean, it was the first sort of couple of months of my leadership, we fell into COVID.
Correct,
And we had that crisis to deal with. And everybody, said we were wrong to say this and that. And then eventually everyone came around that we were actually right on those things. And, we pioneered new ways of getting to speak to voters like we're doing today through those days of Corona cost. And I can tell you the success and secret of leadership is surrounding yourself with strong people and putting people in the right places for the right reasons. And this is what the Peter Bruces and William Saunderson Mayers and others of the world forget. They're always quick to criticize and say, oh, you this and that. And look how wonderful person X or Y is. Well, how do you think those people got into those positions in the first place? I mean, I look at, for instance, the excellent work Jordan Hill-Lewis is doing in Cape Town. It took a huge act of political capital to get Jordan into that position. And I look at some of the other people who are really performing well. Look at the incredible work Siviwe and Solly and Leon and that are doing. They didn't fall into those positions by accident. It wasn't a osmosis that took place. It was from determined steps of leadership to place people into positions so that they can perform well. And when they don't perform, you need to remove them.
Absolutely.
And that's also the tough part of leadership. And that's why they say this job is governed by the law of diminishing Christmas cards. Because if you are leading, you are having to, A, promote and praise those who are performing, but you also then need to be able to have the guts and courage to remove those who are not performing and who are not acting in the best interest of the party and who are holding us back from achieving our mission. And that's a tough burden of leadership. And we've seen the situation play out in the recent time, and that's an example of it.
But there was a time, and not long ago, where many people, sometimes including ourselves, believed the rhetoric from Jacob Zuma that said that the ANC would rule until Jesus came. I mean, some of us actually in the back of our heads thought that it's possible what he's saying. But what do you think was that defining moment within your own leadership that not just broke that curse, but actually has gone on in 2024, 25 and 26 to rescuing South Africa?
So I sat down together with a team of our strategists and people I think I really have a great deal of faith in their judgment. And it was ahead of the Congress that we had 2 years ago. And I said, guys, we've got to offer South Africa a new vision, and a vision where things are going to change. Otherwise, people are just not going to come out and vote. And that was where the Moonshot Pact was conceived. And I remember telling Congress, guys, we are now have to prepare ourselves to get international government because we cannot change things from the opposition benches. We have to get into the driving seat. We've got to be in the engine room so that we can steer the ship. And that's also a function of leadership. It's taking stock of where you are, but also looking forward into the future about where we need to be, and then coming back down from that ladder and leading the organization towards it. And the Moonshot Pact was exactly that. Now, you remember the ridicule that we got after that. Look at this, the DA. Well, not only did we put the Moonshot Pact together, and unfortunately it didn't get the votes that we want, but what it had done is prepared the voters' mind shift for that we could get into government. And it also set out very clearly in binary terms what we were rescuing South Africa from. You can't just say rescue South Africa. You've got to tell me what you're rescuing it from. And we were rescuing it from the coalition of chaos and corruption that would be governing South Africa today
if we did not.
And interestingly, it actually played itself out in that way after Congress, that you actually had the binary that from our Congress we had already seen that this is the scenario. And I mean that's quite incredible as well, because you are now saying you have to look at things now, but you also have to look into the future as well.
And that is a function of leadership. And again, I go back and use the Corona example as example. Having sat down as a leader and looked through what this was playing out at and what it was going to be, very quickly on, despite all the hype and hysteria about how wonderful the president was and when he put his mask on funny and everything, I said, guys, it's about lives, but it's also about livelihoods. And I got a lot of flack, including in my own FedEx, saying, how can you talk about livelihoods? And you may recall, I came out as some of the newspapers said, can Steenhuisen talk about livelihoods and jobs and all of that? Because I realized that whilst you could sit in Denmark or Sweden and lock yourself into an apartment, fill your fridge with food, and watch Netflix and see out the virus under hard lockdown, that was not the reality for the majority of South Africans who live from hand to mouth, who don't even have a fridge, and who rely on being able to go out every day to get money. And it was amazing to see you get criticized and hammered, and then it turned. And then suddenly even the president's talking about lives and livelihoods.
And now...
And they never say sorry.
They never say sorry.
You never get an apology, but that's the game. As I say, you can't be a sailor that curses the sea. That's the navigation we have.
And from that vision, you are now here. You are now the minister. So as the minister, how has your department been? How has 2025 been for you?
Well, 2025 has been an interesting year, mainly because it was setting up a new department. The Department of Agriculture is now on its own for the first time in many, many years, I think since 1996.
Yeah. So you're walking into DA when you walk into
Department of Agriculture. Some people say DOA, and I say that's not dead on arrival. It's Department of Agriculture. And so you're walking in there, you've got to set up a whole new department, you've got to appoint a DG, you've got to set the structures up, you've got to set out a vision for what you want there. I went in with a clear 7-point priority list and just started about setting it out and then designing together with the DG and others, the structures that are going to deliver on those 7 key areas that we focus on.
What are those 7 key?
So there's a number of them: biosecurity and improving our biosecurity. And I think the latest foot and mouth disease shows that. But it's not the only disease we have to worry about. Rift Valley fever, avian influenza, African swine fever. We really need to beef up our biosecurity in the country. The second one was about support and the type of support we give to farmers, and understanding that you give different types of support to different types of farmers because they have different needs. Your mega farmers need market access. Your subsistence farmers need help to move from being a subsistence farmer to being a commercial farmer. Your family farms require a different type of support. Then advocacy for a growing sector, recognizing that there are areas that fall that affect agriculture but don't fall under my department. Rural safety, road infrastructure, ports and harbours. All of these have an impact on agriculture, but I don't have the levers of power. So I have to be an advocate for the sector in those other areas. Partnerships for growth, recognising that we have to partner with the private sector to succeed. Government cannot achieve anything on its own. We have to have strong partnerships with organised agriculture, with farmers' organisations, with the industry players, with the value chains, so that we have those partnerships going forward.
So look, John, I think I guess it's bad because I didn't know who the previous agriculture minister was. It was a sort of portfolio that was locked into a corner somewhere, and whatever corruption and mismanagement they were busy with, they did there. And you came into this and with, I guess, not much agricultural experience, but a passion and a desire to see what that portfolio could do. And I know the industry's been hit hard. I mean, you've got tariffs from Donald Trump that affects us because we export a lot of our farming produce, etc. But what has been key to you within the industry? Because if I look at the industry today, like any other person would look at it, it's functional, it's visible. We're seeing produce leaving the country, coming into the country. We're finding different ports countries to send our produce to. What has been some of those key things for you, despite those challenges?
So the key thing is the relationship that I've built with the industry and the industry players and organised agriculture. It's a constructive working relationship. They know they've got an open line to my office. I have an open door policy to them. If there's issues that are on their chest, they're able to bring it to me and we can work together to solve it. The second thing is understanding that if we want to grow agriculture in South Africa, the premium and the growth is going to come from stimulating demand from other countries. South Africa's products are excellent quality, and because of our currency, are excellent price, and the fact that we are counter-seasonal to half the world. So what we need, what I saw as a vision for us to do is to go out and find new markets and open new markets, but at the same time deepen and widen existing markets. Because when you do that, you create the demand overseas. That demand has to be met by South Africa, and that means you start to see a growth in those sectors. And that's how we're going to create jobs. And I'm very proud of the fact that agriculture has been one of the largest contributors to GDP, one of the sectors with the most growth and in the country, and the most jobs.
That's brilliant, especially in with the tough economic challenges that we have, the impact on the tariffs as well. And I mean, a lot of times, and you are saying this thing, that agriculture is oftentimes impacted and often negatively by other departments or other services that don't even fall under you. But your main things that you guys have achieved, the department has achieved in 2025. I mean, there's quite a lot of stuff. I mean, you're talking about access into new markets as well.
Yeah, so we've got great new access to China on stone fruit. In the last quarter of last year, I signed a deal with China, 5 different types of stone fruit, full market access.
Wow,
that's on the back of it.
Sorry, John. I think we need to put this into perspective.
Yeah.
If we have opened a channel to China for stone fruit, China is a population of well over 1 billion people.
What is stone fruit? You have to eat stones.
It's everything with a pip inside it. So you have plums, apricots, peaches, prunes, all those sorts.
So I think one needs to put this into perspective. I think context is critical here. China's got over 1 billion people that live in China. China has now decided, because of a relationship, because of partnerships that are being created, to buy stone fruit from South Africa. Now, in the past, South Africa probably did not have that levels of relationship with China. So automatically, and this is the point about economic growth and job creation, because the two are linked to each other. When an order, as basic as an order, comes from a Chinese supermarket to a South African farmer, it does not give me 1 million peaches. It's give me 1 billion peaches. So I've employed 100 people to make 1 million peaches. I now need to employ 1,000 people to produce or to get ready 1 billion peaches. I don't think people understand the context of what you've actually done here.
Yeah, so what it does is it pulls through on a variety of levels. Because remember, it's not just the on-farm job that's created.
Correct.
And for every hectare of apple or pear, it's 1.5 jobs.
Yeah, I was just playing with numbers.
But it's a person designing the packaging and providing the packaging that those things have to go exported. It's the person in the pack house that's having to pack the fruit. It's the export company that does the export of it. So you're creating a whole jobs chain all the way down to farm level again. And at the same time, creating economic activity for the country. And that's how we're going to grow the economy, and that's how we're going to create jobs. And so,
and the new entrants, how do you get new entrants? Because there are lots of people who are interested in agriculture. Some of them have said sometimes it's cumbersome, but how have you...
Look, let me just start by saying this. Agriculture is not easy. And there's a lot of people who are under the misconception that you get a piece of land, you throw a few seeds in, and you're going to be driving a Mercedes-Benz and you're going to be wealthy. Farming is tough. And it has many risks. And what we've seen, the devastation with our dairy farmers and the pain that they're going through as the animals get infected, it is heavy, and it bears a huge emotional burden. When you have a drought or a flooding like you've seen in Limpopo and your entire crop is washed out, it's hugely risky. And I always tell people, don't be under the impression that farming is easy. It is very difficult. It is scientific. It requires a lot of it's capital intensive. So how we attract new entrants to the market? By providing access to land. We have a blended finance scheme with the Land Bank where my department puts money in to make easily accessible financing and loans. We work together with Minister Nyonso in the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development with post-settlement support. How do we provide farmers with the equipment they need? And then extension officers by providing extension services to those emerging farmers. But more importantly than that, we have to create markets for them. And this is what's so important. It's no use giving people a piece of land, giving them seeds, giving them the expertise and saying, go and grow cabbages. They grow world-class cabbages. But they've got no access to a market. What happens to those cabbages? What you've got to do the next year is go back and give the same seeds, same thing again. They produce cabbages that go nowhere. So what you have to do is to try and create uptake agreements. And we very successfully did this last year in a project with Unilever and the Department of Agriculture in KwaZulu-Natal, where we brought together a whole host of small-scale growers in northern rural KwaZulu-Natal into a group that would then produce chilies and spices and herbs for Unilever, and Unilever guaranteed that they would uptake whatever they produced.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
So and then help them with the type of training and that they needed to produce at the quality level that Unilever needed. So it's a win-win situation. You've got small-scale farmers who now have access to a multinational company. They've got a guaranteed uptake that if they produce at the quality and quantity, they will have a guaranteed market. And Unilever wins because they've got access to locally produced produce and less import. And that's what we have to do more of, and that's how you bring small-scale holders in: aggregation, market access, and then assisting them with the expertise.
Tell us about South African farmers. Tell us about who are South African farmers.
Let me just tell you this. I always knew we had good farming, a farming community, but my goodness me, the last year and a half, our farming and our farmers and farm workers are the best in the world. And wherever I travel, whether it's to Europe, whether it's to the US, whether it's to the Southeast Asia, our farmers are the envy of the world. Think about this. South Africa and our South African farmers operate in an entirely unsubsidized system. In Europe and other parts of the world, there are heavy government subsidies for farmers. Our farmers don't get any subsidies from government. And yet they're competing on international markets,
international level,
and shooting the lights out. Our citrus is the best in the world by far. It's sought after in Europe, in America. Even Trump had to reverse the tariff on citrus because the people were missing. Missing our oranges.
Sorry, you never said sorry.
No, just quietly done. So
let him.
So these are the things that really make me so proud to be the Minister of Agriculture, because the real heroes in this are not politicians. The real heroes in South Africa are farmers who 3 times a day put a meal on your table, who grow the economy, who create jobs under very difficult circumstances.
Ever consider farming, John?
Well, let me tell you, it was always my dream to go and farming someday, but having seen how difficult it is, I'm not so sure anymore. I think there's less risks in politics than there are.
I met a farmer once. 2 brothers owned farms. And it was unrelated to politics. But the one brother's farm, which was literally next to the others, this guy completely collapsed. Everything collapsed completely because the rain refused to fall on that one side of the farm. His brother was obviously getting the rain. Somehow on the mountain it worked out. But an amazing industry. Because you've done a lot of work around the price of bread. And we should never be in a state that tries to control everything. That's not who we are. But how do we maintain pricing for consumers of food products coming from farms?
So this is a very important question. And we must remember that prior to 1994, we had prices were regulated by government. And that's when you saw all this dumping and that going on. There was a determined effort from 96 to 97 to liberalize and open up and market forces to determine prices and that. And I think that is the right way to go. We need to have a free market and the limited government interference. There's Ronald Reagan famously said that the scariest words that anyone can hear is, "I'm from government and I'm here to help." But government does need to intervene sometimes to ensure that there's a fair playing field. So, for instance, we're going through a situation currently, and I did another podcast yesterday with Grain SA, where our wheat farmers are under significant pressure. We're a net importer of wheat. We produce some of the highest quality wheat in the world, but we have a mechanism that's managed by the Department of Trade and Industry that sets the pricing on the tariffs. Now, we have to wait months for that tariff to kick in. And in the meantime, the wheat farmers then get squeezed by the millers and other parts of the value chain. And by the time that comes, the pricing, the import price comes in, many farmers are on difficult situations. So we need to find a way, and I intend to do what's called a Section 7 process with the National Agricultural Marketing Council to look at that value chain and see who's bearing the burden of the value chain and who's benefiting the most from the value chain, and to look how we can establish some form of fairness there. I've also called on DTIC to have an automated tariff, much like the fuel price works. It's linked to the import of oil. When that goes up, it automatically adjusts. If we could just have an automated tariff system, for wheat prices, it would make our farmers' lives a lot better. But now we're in a situation where you've got drought in the Southern Cape and other parts of Swartland. those wheat farmers are under significant pressure. And so you can't just sit back as government and say, oh, well, it is what it is. You have to find ways to create a fair system that ensures that everybody in the value chain is getting something out of it. Yeah.
South Africa, the best meat producer in the world?
Without a doubt. I mean, I've travelled all over the world. I also think we have the best steakhouse in South Africa. The Fat Butcher in Stellenbosch, I think, is the finest steakhouse.
I've been there. It's amazing.
The finest steakhouse I've eaten into in the North or South Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Still one of my absolute favourite restaurants. But we produce great beef. And the sad part is that the rest of the world doesn't get an opportunity to taste it because
and then
we have FMD.
Yeah, so obviously now talking about the best steaks as well, we've had a lot of brilliant milestones with the department, with you as a minister, and we ended the year on it was a challenge with foot and mouth. What is foot and mouth?
Well, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I would have said it's something that politicians got.
I was just, I was a bit careful, do you?
I thought it was something that politicians got, but it's an infectious disease.
Yeah,
it's something politicians do.
Many people would say that. Don't encourage Peter Bruce. So what is? It's an infectious disease that's transferred from animals to animals. It only affects cloven-hoofed animals, so sheep, goats, cows, and it's particularly virulent in the livestock sector. It's endemic in South Africa because it's endemic in buffalo. And we have large buffalo populations in Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, the Northwest, and other areas. And while it doesn't affect them epidemiologically, they are carriers of it, so they can spread it. So we will always have FMD present in South Africa. It's how we control it.
And so it's always been there. It's always lingering around.
It's always been there. And we lost our FMD free status in around 2016, 2019. And it's been a catch-up every year now to try and catch up to the disease, catch it and deal with it. It obviously doesn't affect humans, and I want to make that very clear to those listening. It's not a zoonotic disease. It cannot pass to humans.
How do we retain our FMD free status?
So we've got, and this is what I've announced now at a FASA's conference last year in November. I announced a new policy direction for South Africa about how we're going to deal with it. But I think the story starts before that. When I came into office as minister, I realized there was a problem with foot and mouth disease, and it was largely linked to poor biosecurity and a moribund scientific capacity with the collapse of Onderstepoort and the constraints that we had at the ARC, etc., Agriculture Research Council. So we started setting out to fix those things. We then called for a indaba. And for the first time ever on FMD, government, academia, the science community, farming organizations and industry bodies came in under one roof and said, guys, ladies, we've got to deal with FMD.
So this is, sorry, John, the first time in democratic South Africa that someone's been able to bring all of these role players together to deal with the challenge.
So we had that FMD indaba then selected a ministerial task team. Half the task team is made up of the private sector, private vets, industry representatives, half of government. The first time ever there's been a public-private partnership at a ministerial task team level on FMD. They were tasked then to come up with strategies for us to beat FMD, not just to deal with sporadic outbreaks, but to deal with FMD. That ministerial task team came back with their report, and out of the options they presented, we chose to go with the vaccination route, in which we intend to vaccinate the entire national herd. And this isn't a thumbsuck. This is something that's designed by scientists, designed by with partnership with the private sector, and the strategy is the right one. It's the same strategy that Brazil and Argentina used, similar peer countries to us, to become FMD free by vaccinating the entire national herd. Now, Brazil took 21 years to get to FMD-free status. I think we can get to the same status within 8 to 10 years. But what frustrates me is that I hear now that there's this criticism, you've got a 10-year plan, as if we're not taking care of what's happening now. Of course, the 10-year plan is to get to a certain point. And as I said, in leadership, you've got to understand where you want to go in order to set the steps in place to get there. But of course, it has an immediate part of the plan, and it's set out very clearly in the press brief I gave last week. We have a 12-month plan now to get to a 80% vaccination of the entire national herd within a year, to be able to reduce the incidence of FMD by 70% in 12 months through the procurement of vaccines and the rollout. We, to date, as we sit here today, have vaccinated over 2 million animals around the country.
Wow.
That is a significant, it's the largest scale vaccination for FMD that's ever taken place. Wow. And we've got vaccines now coming this month, and a whole lake of them coming in February through what I've done in opening up the FMD vaccine market. In the past, we've only relied on Botswana for their vaccine. Through the reference laboratory at the ARC, we've been able to match our strains with vaccines. For instance, the Junevex vaccine called Dolvet from Turkey, the Biogenesis Bago vaccine now from Argentina, and we've been able to, through our reference laboratory, match those to the strains we're having. I've done emergency imports of those vaccines, and we're finalising the import permits of those on an emergency basis because we're facing a crisis. Brilliant. And the idea is then to have a river of vaccines flowing in from different sources. So you're not reliant on a single supplier, to create a lake of vaccines that is then able for us to vaccinate every one of the 14 million cattle that we have in the country. Now, once you do that, the second part of the plan, this is important because everyone says, are you focusing on 10 years?
Yeah.
That's the first part, contain the current virus. And it's for the first time ever that we now have a strategy to deal with foot and mouth disease once and for all in the country. Not dealing with it on a case-by-case basis.
Here and there,
we now have a strategy, a roadmap for the first time in South Africa. And it's a roadmap not dictated by government, but driven by
the industry
and government working together. It's not me standing there saying, this is how you're going to do it. It's listening to the best voices in the scientific, academic, private sector, farming organizations, and bringing those together. The second part then is that once we've vaccinated at scale, we can apply to the World Organization of Animal Health, which is the international body that manages foot and mouth disease status around the world. We can apply to them for what is called FMD free with vaccination. Okay. What that will do is then open up markets for South African products. Brazil had some of its best export years when it was in the status of FMD free with vaccination. And why it is important that this is state managed and overseen is because WOHA want the certification from your government that you vaccinated, and here is the surveillance that's been done. Government has to then submit that to WOHA so we can get that status. Once we've got FMD free with vaccination, and we've got FMD under control and the outbreaks are sorted, we then can stop vaccinating in certain compartments. So the Western Cape, for instance, is FMD free. The Northern Cape is FMD free. They're regarded as compartments. But we can start to break the country up into sub-compartments. And then what we do is we stop vaccinating there, and we then start to move FMD back into the endemic zone. So Limpopo will always have FMD on the Kruger Park border, in Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal. But then you vaccinate at a prophylactic level on those boundaries. And then we can apply to WOHA for FMD-free status without vaccination. And when that happens, the world opens up for our beef and dairy and sector, and which means we can get into Europe. Now, Europe is a huge market. They're getting beef currently from Botswana and Namibia. They're missing out on the great beef we have here. And so I really urge everybody that they need to be on board with this plan. We have a plan. We've got the destination where we want to get to in 8 to 10 years, but it has steps, immediate steps now. Get FMD under control, vaccinate at scale, surveillance, biosecurity, then you move to the next stage, and ultimately that's where you end up. And for the first time ever, we have a plan. And I think if we stick to the plan, if we rigorously execute it, and we continue to work with the private sector, and this is important because, and this is why you would know, I've now set up the ministerial task team, and that's made up of state vets together with the private sector vets and academics and scientists and people from the universities. I've now created, by bringing the farming organizations on board, the Agri-SA, TLU, AFASA, the African Farming Association of Southern Africa, the red meat industry body, the red meat producers, the milk producers, and a variety of others now into what I'm calling a team to monitor the rollout now. So we're bringing together at every step of the way industry and the private sector on board so that we can help. And the private sector is also going to play a big role in the vaccination process. I've been absolutely upfront. The state does not have the capacity to vaccinate at scale on its own. We need private vets. We need industry vets to come on board and help us to get this done. And that is the process.
But John, this is what government is supposed to be. Government should be an enabler.
Correct.
Enabling industries, enabling people to govern, to partner with government. I think this sends probably one of the clearest messages of confidence into the country, into the industry, that not only is there the problem of foot and mouth, but here is a plan. It's a plan that is driven by everyone, every single stakeholder. Those stakeholders themselves must be so confident in the result.
Unfortunately, like in everything, you've got your critics who just refuse to believe that you are trying to do the best thing. I mean, a foot and mouth disease is the first thing I think about when I get up in the morning, and it's the last thing I think about at night. And I feel the pain of the farmers, particularly those dairy farmers and other cattle farmers who have to watch their herds being infected. And, there's a relationship that farmers have with their animals. And it's disturbing. I mean, I see the images, you see the lesions. It's heartbreaking. And it really affects you at a human level and at a humane level. And I feel that. And I understand the anger and frustration that many of our farmers are feeling. And that is why I'm so determined. It's why I've put my money where our mouth is. Over 2 billion set aside for vaccine procurement.
A state of disaster as well.
A state of disaster applying for, so we can get the police to help us to monitor the movement. But there's an important point as well, is that government can't do this on its own. And the disease isn't spread by government. I don't own cattle. The government doesn't own cattle. The disease is spread when people break the rules, when they move animals from quarantine or infected areas and they move them into areas that are not infected. That is how the disease is spread. You don't have the minister going with some magic dust spreading foot and mouth disease. You don't have this thing magically floating through the air. It is spread through bad behavior and lack of adherence to the rules, having auctions and not following the correct biosecurity, not understanding where animals are. And it frustrates me because as early as last week, I had to intervene when a vet phoned me from Limpopo and said there's a vehicle traveling out of Limpopo. It's going to the northwest. There's 5 animals on board. It's spewing out all the waste as it goes along on the trailer, and they don't have the correct paperwork. Now, how in the midst of an FMD crisis
do you do that?
Can you have that type of behavior happening? The other problem we have is that you have some people who think that they are cleverer, and they've gone and imported vaccines themselves from places like Kenya. And what they don't realize is that there are strains in those Kenyan vaccines that we don't have here in South Africa.
So
you are going to create a whole new
strain
of the virus and mutation that we are not prepared for. And luckily, through the State Security Agency and the Border Management Agency under Leon Schreiber, we were able to intercept a number of those vaccines, and there's currently an investigation underway. But government can only do so much. We also need the partnership of the private sector, and at a farm level, the best way to prevent FMD is to have absolute strict biosecurity rules at your farm level. Don't let vehicles come onto your farm that have not been properly sprayed. Don't let farm workers move from an infected farm to your farm without going through the proper PPE and spraying environment. taking just those simple biosecurity mechanisms can help prevent the disease from coming onto the farm level. Now, I can't be the farm manager for every farmer in the country. There has to be some ownership also taken at a farm and an industry level to make sure that they're playing their part as well. I think what you want from government and a government role is to realize there's a problem, to bring in the best experts it can to find a solution. Once that solution is agreed upon, then to ruthlessly execute it. And that's why we're ruthlessly executing it. We will have millions of vaccines coming into South Africa for the first time ever from a variety of sources. And we will get on top of this.
And producing our own as well.
We will get on top of this.
Just one question. Because I think when people hear the word state of disaster, we automatically assume it's around safety and security of people and lockdown.
Yeah.
Can you take us through what you are hoping to achieve through the state of disaster in relation to foot and mouth?
And how does it look like?
What does it look like?
It's not something we apply for lightly because there are implications. But there's been a large clamour from organisations that we should have a state of disaster. To my mind, the best outcome of the state of disaster, and one of the reasons why I've prepared the cabinet memo to request the state of disaster, is because, as I said earlier, there are elements that affect agriculture but over which we have no control. So I don't have a police force in agriculture that can conduct roadblocks. No agriculture official has the ability to be able to confiscate or pull vehicles off a major freeway or a road. You require provincial traffic services when provincial level, and you need the SAPs to help out. And so I need SAPs to help out with roadblocks. If we're going to have movement control, there needs to be effective and visible movement control. And I don't have the powers to do that. So I have to rely on the police. Now, you go to the police and say, we need to do roadblocks. They say, okay, well, who must I say must stand back then? Must it be Minister Creasy now, who's asking for roadblocks for alcohol with transport? Must it be Minister Schreiber, who wants us to have resources to help with illegal immigrant stop and searches? And so there's a lot of competition for these resources, and sadly agriculture has always sort of had to trail behind. What I'm hoping with the state of disaster is that what it will then mean is that through the NAT joints we'll be able to trigger getting more assistance from them, perhaps even the SANDF if they have capacity, provincial traffic, municipal traffic and the like, to be able to help us with the movement control, because vaccines are not the silver bullet. They're a part of your toolbox to get on top of foot and mouth disease. But you can't just say, well, because I've got vaccines, I don't need to worry about biosecurity. No, you've got to have biosecurity. Because we've got vaccines, we don't have to worry about surveillance. No, you have to have surveillance. Otherwise, you're wasting money on vaccines to never get your status of FMD free. And thirdly, you need movement control because it helps you then with your surveillance and helps contain the disease from being spread out further. And so it's fundamentally important that we unlock those resources to help agriculture be able to get on top of this.
Yeah. What must the farmers look out for in 2026 with regards to FMD?
One of my main focuses has been on getting local vaccine capacity because we were left beholden to having to import vaccine from other countries. And I'm very proud of the fact that the Agriculture Research Council has developed a vaccine. Brilliant. It's a trivalent vaccine. It deals with SAT1, 2 and 3, which are the dominant strains here. In mid-February, they're going to be able to give us 20,000 doses a week of that trivalent to add to what we're getting from BVI, Dolvet, and Biogenesis Bago. And by next year, their mid-scale production's up, and they're going to be able to be giving us millions of vaccines. And eventually, we will be able to be the producers of our own vaccines here in South Africa. And I think that's important.
So, FMD would be a huge priority for your department in 2026. What are some of the other key things that your department is looking at in 2026 that agriculture is hoping to make a big impact on? Are we looking at a reduction, at a per kilo rate down on the price of lamb? What's the plan?
The lamb farmers are happy at the moment. They're doing well.
Yeah, they're doing extremely well.
Doing very well. Look, I mean, these things are supply and demand, and those prices are there. We've seen a spike in the beef price, obviously, as a result of FMD with some of the big feedlots that are affected, Karen Beef, Sparta, and others. So it's had an impact on the price. So I hope once we get through this next 12 months, the prices will have started to come down, because you have two strategies: vaccination to live and vaccination to kill. So you can vaccinate at feedlot level, but also vaccinate at dairy and other level, and that is part of the strategy. The priorities are, I need to do something urgently to help our wheat farmers. I'm very worried about the situation that they're in, facing a number of challenges. And then, of course, our maize is going to be under pressure. The US has had a huge bumper crop, and that's obviously going to affect the maize price. Then drought. Water, again, is not something that falls under my department, but again has a huge knock-on effect. Without water, you don't have farms, and without water, you can't grow crops, and without water, you can't raise livestock. So water is going to be a big challenge this year, and we've seen the impact of the drought now in the Southern Cape. How we mitigate against what is very clearly climate change and an aridity on the western part of the country, with volatility and too much rain in the eastern part. So you sit as a Minister of Agriculture with too much rain one place and too little rain on the other. So we have to find a way in which we improve access to water and the way in which water is used and supplied. The agriculture uses around 60% of water in South Africa. So we have to find a sustainable way to do that. And then jobs. I want growth and jobs in the sector, and I want new markets. We've got some exciting news coming on cherries soon.
Awesome.
Blueberries quickly after that. And my trip with the president to the ASEAN region last year has opened up a whole channel there. And in a way, this US thing had a silver lining.
Exactly.
Because we got pretty lazy having access to the US market and others. What the tariff regime has now done is forced us to
find other markets.
And we're seeing there's a whole world out there, and you know what? They're desperate for our products.
And what does it do? It creates jobs.
It creates jobs. You're creating international demand. Your farmers get the premium. That creates the demand back home for more, better quality, and that means jobs.
That's brilliant.
The vehicle that makes all these things, the GNU to work, the DA, as the DA leader, 2026 is very big. So how does it look for you in 2026 as the DA leader?
Well, obviously we've got to make sure that we win in more places in November in the local government elections. And I think that many South Africans have seen through the work of the GNU just what we're capable of when we are given a chance to lead and to get into a position of government. Now imagine if we can do what we're doing in all of these ministries in your local municipality. Imagine having a DA-MMC of water to make sure that your taps aren't running dry. Imagine having a DA-MMC of electricity to make sure your electricity at home. Imagine having a DA-MMC of roads to make sure that the potholes are filled. Imagine having a DA mayor who gets up every morning and is thinking not how do I line my pockets or how do I win this factional battle, but is getting up every morning saying, how today can I make a difference for my community? And those are the sort of people we want, servant leaders. And we can deploy them everywhere in the country, but voters have to vote for them.
I mean,
that's the secret thing.
Even in Parliament, I mean, we got to speak about George, right?
Which George?
Listen, George Mikalakis has taken over as the chief whip, and I guess he's done it at such a challenging time within the structures of government, because you are in government, but you also got to hold not just yourself, but government accountable as well. George has done an amazing job.
George has done an incredible job, and he is a great chief whip, and again, a good leadership decision and a good leadership choice. I saw in George, when he was in the NCOP, an absolute passion for parliamentary process. And it's that attention to detail and that passion that you have to be a good chief whip. And that's why I put him there. But what a great job he's done. For the first time ever, we now have a committee to oversee the presidency. Vote 1, the presidency.
Correct.
We haven't had one in the entire democratic history. We have not had a committee to oversee Vote 1, the presidency. Now, we've spoken about that when we were opposition for many years. Now that we're in government and we're part of the governing coalition, we now have that committee. I look at the incredible work they're doing to hold us as ministers accountable.
Absolutely.
But also to ensure that Parliament fulfills its obligation and discharges its duty to the people. And goodness me, I mean, you need the DA there, because what's currently sitting on the opposition benches is pitiful. I just see the myopic nitpicking of parties like Action SA. I just see the rank disorganization of the official opposition, who change their chief whip more often than they change their underwear.
The list has changed completely.
And you look at their benches as the official opposition. It's empty. And when there are people there, they're all the architects of state capture.
Yes.
The Brian Molefes and Lucky Montanas and all of those people sitting on those benches are the very people who got our country into the mess.
I don't even think we should mention their
opposition. So you have the DA having to also perform some of the duties of an opposition in Parliament in order to make sure that Parliament doesn't get diluted, because we know that a strong Parliament makes a strong government.
Absolutely.
And that's why having someone like George there is so fundamental.
Yeah, I must agree with you, George. The first time I met George, unfortunately, I met him through an FLC process.
Which side of the table were you on?
please answer. But an absolutely amazing guy, and I think he's what he's done there is, and you're the parliamentary leader as well. You're the National Minister of Agriculture, but you're the parliamentary leader. But what he's done there is found that balance.
Correct.
Between being a party in government, but still taking control of holding government to account.
Absolutely, and that's very essential, because the DA must not lose its identity.
Correct.
And this is why I laugh when you see these people. Oh, you've just become the ANC, etc. There's the DA putting a private member's bill in on BEE.
Yeah.
Holding us all accountable. The DA hasn't lost its identity. There it is in Parliament, doing the things the DA has always done, making a noise about this Iran ship that came in here, not sitting quietly in the background, making sure that we are heard on foreign policy, making sure that we are heard on those key issues, making sure that we are interrogating budgets. And it doesn't mean that just because you're in government that you adopt or let everything just flow. That parliamentary caucus is absolutely essential for the country.
How do we overcome the challenge of AI fake news? Because there's so much good that is being done that gets diluted by seasoned commentators who should know the difference between right and wrong that is driving fake news. How do we overcome that?
Unfortunately, I mean, it's even in the agri space. I mean, there's some little outfits that are taking AI and creating pictures of these large fields of cows that have died, etc. Now, I know there are cattle dying, and they're dying at a rate that is not acceptable. But you then have this, looks like a war zone that's been created with these hundreds of thousands of dead cattle lying in a field, and it is a problem, because people see these things and think, oh hell, this is happening. We were talking earlier, you're a victim of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Of AI.
Pontival's a war zone type of thing.
I mean, you can do anything with AI. You can put, I'm selling insurance, I'm selling investments.
He does have that look though, eh?
You are selling assurance to voters.
I've got a great deal on a good car. So would you like to make an offer? Have I got a deal for you? But so it's a big problem, because there's that famous saying, a lie is halfway around the world before the truth is even put on their shoes. And it's something that we, as a democratic party and a party committed to the rule of law and follows the rules, that we're going to have to find ways of dealing with AI and its abuse. You can put a picture of me saying anything you would like. You just type it in on an algorithm. You can have me even dancing. Although I think the AI versions of me dance better than the real versions of me. So maybe there are some better.
Some magic.
You'll take that one.
I'll take that one.
That one you'll take.
My daughter said, Dad, please don't dance in public. Please don't dance in public.
But we don't give you a chance, because we always sing joyful again. So AI is going to be important on this 2026 elections. Do you see perhaps where there might be gaps? And
well, look, I mean, it's like any new technology. It has its benefits, but it has its drawbacks. And we're just going to have to, as I said, you can't be a sailor that curses the sea. It is the new reality. We've got to navigate it, and we've got to try and navigate it as Democrats and as people who play by the rules. What you don't want to do is to have a race to the bottom where you're you're creating videos and content that are not factual. I would hope, though, that, and it's what I always say to voters and also to those in the agri space, look at the source. Is it a credible source that you're getting this from? Or is it somebody who goes around the country continuously whipping up hysteria, who's never happy unless they're unhappy? I've had it now this week. There was a group of people who were calling for a state of disaster. I've now said we're going to call for a state of disaster. They're now saying, now the state's going to come and abuse you on your farm and interfere and that sort of thing. So, again, don't worry. Let them. Don't worry about the barking dogs. Focus on your strategy and move ahead. And that's what the DA has got to do. And AI, in many instances, is going to be the barking dog. We need to focus like a laser beam on where we're going and stick determinedly to that. There's a great book by Nate Silver called The Signal and the Noise. And he talks about the importance of understanding the signal and sticking to it and avoiding the noise. And he used the example of pilots who are coming in. Now, often when there's fog or there's no visibility, there's a signal sent from the airport and you lock onto that and you follow that to land safely. Now, there could be storms raging around you. There could be an engine that fails. You stick on that signal and you keep going towards it. The moment you stray away from that signal is when you start crashing into mountains and crashing the plane. Stick to the signal. And the signal for us is to rescue South Africa's municipalities, to rescue our towns and cities from poor service delivery, from corruption, from maladministration. Our mission is to get out, and our signal is to make sure that we improve the lives of people. And that's the signal we sit.
What's your signal?
My signal?
Yeah, what's your why?
Victory in victory at all costs.
But let me ask you. Every election is an important election, John. But I don't think there's any election more important than the 2026 election at the moment.
Absolutely.
And why is this so important?
It's so important
to you.
It's so important to me because the long-term vision for the party that we set is to be a party of government, but for us to be the majority party. So I accept that probably in my lifetime there won't be a government with its own majority, again, at a national level. But we need to be the largest party in the coalition.
But John, you're 29, John.
We're well on track for that. We're well on track for that. But we need to have a strong showing in the local government election, because the more we can demonstrate as the DA at a local level how we change your life, how life gets better for you. And remember, people feel local government level, they live in local government level, they experience local government level, and they hear local government level. Tip O'Neill, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, said famously, all politics is local. So that is why it's so important we get into power there and start to change the lives of people, because that's going to give us a springboard. But the DA must also make sure that it doesn't descend into internal bickering and internal chaos, because that's the worst signal you can send out to voters.
What's your message to voters, John?
The message is simple. You can stay as you are for the rest of your life, or you can vote for the DA. And that's simple as that. Nothing's going to change in your life. Your road's not going to magically fix itself. Your water's not going to magically start running in your tap. A job's not going to magically appear on your doorstep. Your electricity's not going to magically come on again. You have to, it is an act of the will to change the situation that you're living in. And if you want to change the situation you're living within, you've got to vote for that change. It doesn't happen by accident. The city of Cape Town turnaround and the fact that it's the best metro on the continent was not by accident. It's because the voters in Cape Town said, enough, we want to give the DA a majority now, and they're going to go and vote. And that's the key thing. There will be plenty of pop-up parties, plenty of them. I've got into trouble in the last election because I said popcorn parties.
Look, it's trended, popcorn parties. Everyone's talking.
But you're going to have a lot of pop-up parties and a lot of opportunists at local government level. Vote for a party with a track record of getting things done. A party that doesn't talk about service delivery, it delivers it. A party that doesn't talk about fighting corruption, it fights it. And it has a track record of having done so. And that's how you'll get the change that you want in your city, in your town, in your community, in your province, and in your life. Look at what we've been able to do in just a handful of months. If you take how long we've been in the GNU to over the last 30 years, it's a pinprick on that timeline. But look how seismic the change has been as a result of that pinprick, because people voted in big numbers for the DA that allowed us to be able to form a coalition, and they didn't vote for the ANC in large numbers, so it allowed us to form a coalition. And that's what we have to do now. And at a local level, we need to win outright where we can. where we can't win outright, we need to be the largest party in those coalitions. And that's when things will really start to change for you and your community.
John, continue to lead this party. Continue to lead our fight to rescue South Africa. Thank you so much for what you are doing on a daily basis, not just in your portfolio, and we see the tangible difference within that portfolio, but what you're doing for every single South African. The fact that people speak your name on the ground tells you that you're doing something. And I think it comes with the fact that when you are performing at the level at which you're performing, not because you are the best, but because you're passionate about what you're doing, there'll always be little rocket launches from all sides coming. But as you say, let them be. Stay on signal.
Let them.
And the end result is the signal for us is changing people's lives. So thank you very much for being part of the show today.
Great
it's been an absolute pleasure. You've been a legend. You are a legend.
You're a legend.
We're all are legends.
Now can we talk about that used car?
Listen, on the CFCs though, how much they always say you want to know if a politician works. You must, especially ministers, you must check the mileage on their vehicles.
Okay. So it's a lot of mileage.
Yeah, because you obviously fly to the nearest big airport,
and then you got
to hit the road and drive.
Now,
John, keep going.
Thank you, man.
You're doing absolutely amazing work.
As Winston Churchill famously said, never give up. Never, ever give up. And I'm not going to give up on FMD. I'm not going to give up on the future of the country. I'm certainly not going to give up on the wonderful people of South Africa who deserve a government who gets up and works with them, not against them.
But Churchill also said, we'll outlive the bastards.